Welcome back to WCA America 2015. I'm Solid Jake, joined by the Kubi, and we just saw a great best-of-3 series.
Yes, we did. Murden, very highly favored, at the very least by Templestorm, in that we saw a lot of changes to the Warrior role in the last patch, of course. And so we're expecting to see a lot of meta shifts in that. Perhaps Murden is now the best Warrior. Templestorm seems to think so. It got them a 2-0 victory over Cognitive Gaming. But now we have Zeveron versus compLexity.
Yeah, and it's going to be cool to see what they think about these new patch notes that we have out, because, like you said, Murden was very highly sought after for Templestorm, but Diablo, ETC, they've seen a lot of changes too, and we have Zeveron versus Cole. What do you think they're going to take from this game? Because we know a little bit about the styles for both teams.
That's right, yeah. compLexity in the past, they have shown, again, they were almost the pioneers of this very aggressive style. I remember way back in the day with the Tehran to Diablo combo, when that was starting to see light, that was compLexity really leading that charge. And there has been a lot of changes to Diablo, so it's super hard to say where he fits into the meta, especially since they've tweaked the cooldowns and the usability of his Shadow Charge, etc. Hard to say if they're going to prioritize that, but I think we have the draft up, Jake, so why don't we just hop into that?
Yeah, we are good to go with the draft for game number 1. The map is Sky Temple, and compLexity, they are going to start with a ban on Uther.
Okay, so I pinged that question to you earlier about the supports. compLexity, they were listening. They know, right? They're like, okay, Solid Jake says Uther's the best. We got to ban him out.
Yeah, and I actually think we might have a bit of an error on this draft. I could be wrong, but typically we should see the first ban on Zeveron. So I think that the client might be bugging out. We might have to get that fixed, guys. So I'm going to take a quick look at that right now. So yeah, just pardon me for one moment to confirm that we are good
absolutely.
to go.
So that at the very least means perhaps we didn't get to see the first ban out of Zeveron, but that means that still we're looking to maybe compLexity is saying, yeah, Uther, we recognize the potential, especially since we have those changes to the Healing Ward. You guys got to remember, there was a patch that just hit, so Healing Ward now affected by AoEs. There might not be as much of a priority to get that 1.5 support through the use of Tassadar, through the use of Tyrande, etc. And even the healers that had Healing Wards, they might be dropping down a little bit in priority for those teams. So Uther, yeah, it seems to be like a very strong pick. Rhaegar might be falling even more out of the meta now. Just things to keep an eye on as we move forward through this draft.
Yeah, well,
Jake, how are we looking?
I'm doing some administrative stuff. We're just trying to get the admin to recreate the draft, confirming with him that we are almost ready.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. All right. So Zeveron, let's talk about them a little bit. Again, we mentioned a little bit earlier that these guys are veterans. We've seen them on quite a few of the previous pro teams. I'm seeing names like Faye, Fury, Equinox, Gathan Luck. All of these guys have been on pro teams in the previous, in the alpha phase of this game. They have the experience. Now, it's just a matter of whether or not the team has that cohesive synergy. I know these guys have been practicing hard over the past 3 weeks or so. They aren't in the ESL NA Major League, so they don't have that super high-level experience, but I can guarantee you these guys have been practicing. They've been scrimming the top teams, and they're coming out to play against this monster of a team that is compLexity.
Yeah, guys, I mean, I can't wait to see what they do with this new build. Crazy things can happen. There's a lot of potential for the new Sonya, right? She has a fair amount of damage on board. We saw changes to Diablo, ETC. We saw even changes for the supports. Now, that's actually going to hurt some of the supports. The Healing Ward can now be eliminated by area of effect abilities. If I'm not mistaken, a single multi-shot will actually destroy the Healing Ward. And this is going to make a hero like Rhaegar, who is known for that level 1 healing totem, so much less powerful, right? His priority will be far fewer, and we're going to see a lot of Uther, a lot of Brightwing, and those pseudo supports. Maybe Tassadar, who still has Protective Shield. Tyrande also has Protective Shield. Having the Burst Sustain going to be a bit more prioritized.
Yeah. You know what, Jake? You know what I want to see? They just added some new level 20 abilities in this past patch, of course, for the Warriors. Diablo now has this gigantic AoE life leech that's like pretty much a blood for blood for anything that hits in a big AoE around him, and that steals the HP back. It looks super cool. I want to see the new ETC ability. I want to see these heroes picked up because this is something that's cool that Blizzard's adding is like very hero-specific level 20 upgrades that aren't necessarily attached to any type of heroic, but as you guys can see, we do have that draft up and running.
Yeah, so let's talk about this draft. The first pick and ban is on the side of compLexity. They ban out Uther, they pick up Sylvanas, but on the other side, Zeveron removes Illidan from contention.
I shed a tear. We haven't seen Illidan in how many games? I think he was run a little bit in the first series, but it seems as though a lot of the teams are coming to the conclusion Illidan's pretty good right now.
Yeah, he's pretty okay. He's pretty okay at the game because, I mean, we call him the janitor for a reason. Illidan gets in there and he cleans up the fights.
Yeah.
If you can't take him out swiftly, he will continue to pester and whittle away your team, and it doesn't matter who you have as your healer, he is going to outdamage the team.
Yeah, I wonder if actually the new changes to the meta, with maybe we're going to start seeing teams run only solo supports. And if that's actually the case, maybe Illidan won't be so strong because it seems as though he really relied on having that extra amount of support. So this is something that, yeah, in the previous meta, Illidan, yes, absolutely super strong, but I wonder if it's sort of a knee-jerk reaction and it's something maybe we'll see shift as the game is a little more developed with this patch.
Well, we'll find out, but one thing that we have been seeing consistently in WCA America is Kerrigan. She has been a terror for the enemy teams every single time, and when she's paired with Jaina, the combo that she has paired with Cone of Cold and Blizzard is just so much damage and control over the battlefield, and the map is Sky Temple. They're going to be fighting over these temples from the top, middle, and bottom of the map that do massive amounts of siege to the opposing side. And I love these pickups on both sides.
Yeah, it kind of seems like the meta is starting to move to a point where you take that very, very heavy early advantage through the use of very aggressive combinations like Kerrigan and Jaina. You pair those two guys together, and it's silly the amount of damage they can output. I'm recalling one of the games from yesterday. Diablo was scooped up almost immediately. They just pulled the combo. Jaina threw down that damage. See you later. Even on such a high HP pool.
Wow, okay, so Zeveron has almost an identical composition to what we saw from Tempo Storm in the past series. Brightwing, Muradin, Kerrigan, and Jaina, but that was on a different map. That was on Dragonshire, if I'm not mistaken, and they just have so much control over the battlefield, but what we see out of compLexity, they're going against my words of Rhaegar, where Healing Ward is no longer viable. They're saying, you know what, if you want to spend Blizzard to remove the Healing Ward, go ahead. And do it, because we have Vala on our side. The Blizzard's not as likely to hit it as maybe a multi-shot, and he's being scooped up.
You can't knock the healing, of course, that Toronto will be able to provide, the control through the Lunar Flare and the Hunter's Mark. But you know what? Rhaegar still has that pretty good heroic, Jake. What's it called? Ancestral Healing, yeah?
Ancestral Healing is pretty good indeed, but Kubi, I'm going to just throw it out there. I have to throw it out there, but the potential of Bloodlust, especially a map like this, we haven't seen it in a long time, but throwing out the crazy strategies for a tournament like this is the time to do it. But like you mentioned, Ancestral Healing, probably what we will see in this game.
Absolutely. But before we get into game number one between compLexity and Zeveron, get on social media, please, guys. Follow WCA_America. Use the hashtag WCA 2015. Tweet at us. We want to know, who do you guys think won this particular draft?
Yeah, guys, well, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to give the players the go-ahead to start their game, and we will be playing on Sky Temple. Now, Kubi, on this map, which team's style do you think actually works out better?
It's hard to say. Again, we haven't seen a lot of Zeveron's play. Just the setup that they have picked up, like you mentioned, it's very similar to what Tempo Storm had in the previous game, and honestly, it was very passive play. But, of course, with the slight tweak, that being Kerrigan, of course, and that allows for some super aggressive starts to the game. I think so far it kind of feels like that they will have the upper hand until level 10, but then you have to mention Tyrael. That opens up a lot of opportunities for compLexity to start diving in and eliminating targets.
I mean, the Tyrael plays, we saw that in the last game alone. That's how they were able to crawl back into the game, almost had the return from Cognitive, using that judgment to approach and quickly take out an enemy hero. It's just such a powerful ability, and especially when you're fighting over these small areas where there's a guaranteed teamfight to happen over a temple, we can't really forget about the potential of something like Sanctuation.
That's
Sanctification.
There you go.
Sanctification. That's the name of the ability. We actually have the game started and ready to roll, guys. So get ready for this game on Sky Temple. I'm pumped up and ready to roll.
Okay, let's get to introducing these guys. Over on the left side, for compLexity, we have McIntyre is going to be on Vala. Caterpillar is going to be playing Tyrael. Trummel on Sylvanas. Blinks be playing Rhaegar, and Tiger JK on Tyrande.
I like their little train here they got going. On the other side of the map, we do have our boys over on Zeveron with Cathan Luck playing as Tassadar. Faye is going to be playing Jaina. Curse Fury, he is on that beautiful Muradin skin. Equinox is on Kerrigan. And last but not least is going to be Matt Timmy, the support, playing Brightwing.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so you notice that the aggressive team, is making the charge to that watchtower. Normally, the watchtower isn't that big of a deal to start this off. Of course, it's just vision, right? But the thing is, on this map in particular, especially, you know, the objective appears at 1:30. If you can hold control over this, that lets you know what the rotation is between the two objectives, the temples that are going to spawn in the top and middle of the map.
And we could even see this like very aggressive posture out of them. They're just sitting here, but that multi-shot will actually clip and reveal Kerrigan, and they shoot a Sentinel up there. Not going to hit either of the Memos, but it just does destroy this poor little statue that is now falling into pieces.
Rip statue.
Rip.
Okay, all right, let's see. Okay, I like the play for Brightwing in the bottom lane. Just, it's a good position to put her in. Hold on a second! The heals in the... Oh, okay. All right, the second wave of the Blizzard, more than enough to take her out. That's the kind of aggressive play we're expecting to see out of Zeveron in this game. Okay, so like I was saying, Brightwing in the bottom lane. When we see those shrines, the temples pop up in the top and middle of the lane, and guys, these guys aren't giving me anything.
My goodness, the prediction on the Wailing. I mean, they went for it, and they just threw the Primal Grasp out. It was enough to eliminate Sylvanas.
I can't put any more thumbs up. I have 2. Those are the only amount of thumbs I have to give.
Have a third.
Equinox, that was a really, really nice play. Well done. And you know what? Zeveron, they're really showing that they're coming out to play. Yeah, they haven't been in some of the bigger tournaments as of late, but they're looking very polished.
All right, so they have a slight lead here, but as they push forward into these temples, if they can hit 4 first with that lead, it's going to net them even more of an advantage over these shrines. But these shrines constantly siege up the opposing side, so you have to make sure that you can do your best to control them. And that's why we have both teams really vying over this middle shrine.
Actually, surprisingly, not as aggressive a play as you would expect, but you got to remember, Brightwing is in the bottom. She is able to phase shift in and start the battle.
Yeah, they just waited for that level 4 before they initiated, and they're just pushing on in, trying to push them out, and they are successful in doing so. But no, right now, Sylvanas is in the top lane. She's soaking, trying to help that team hit level 4, and it looks like they're opting to actually leave this middle shrine and make their way up to the top shrine to control that, to kind of mitigate that damage being done to them.
Zeveron with the gusto. They realize that they have control over the situation. Look, they're already backing up. It seems kind of like compLexity is on the back foot, and they're respecting the potential rotation.
Yeah, I mean, Zeveron is looking phenomenal right now, having this aggressive composition. They have a full level lead right now, and that is, I mean, stats, you can never discredit them. They are quite good.
Yes, absolutely. And the interesting thing is, of course, too, the temples were staggered. This is going to offset the amount of time that it's going to take for the second round of temples to end up spawning. This could potentially provide the opportunity for there to be some kind of a timing attack, or at least a timing window. Since the next set of temples are going to spawn 2 minutes after this top one expires, that might allow Zeveron to have a level 10 advantage if compLexity isn't able to do something about it to capture the bottom shrine. That's a big deal.
I mean, yeah, already having a full level lead at this point in time is kind of a big deal. We can look at the structural damage that has been done. The towers have been eliminated. Both of the wells have been removed, and only one temple has been removed from the middle side on the side of Zeveron, and not even one for the top lane. So when it came to that first spawn of the shrines, very much in favor of Zeveron.
Seeing a very early set of giants taken. This won't really allow for any type of split pushing pressure to be afforded for Zeveron, but I think what this is going to allow them to do is, I like the timing. They're looking to probably take the Bruiser camp. That will allow for some push to be active on the top lane while the bottom temple is spawning.
Kubi, do you think that it's the best scenario to just kind of wait this out and time these Bruisers out for the next spawn of the shrines, or they're taking it too soon to even consider that?
It could go either way. I would say if this was a giant camp that happened to be reversed and put up into this top lane, we're seeing a call for pause. Unfortunately, I don't think we were set for refs.
We don't have ref powers to do that. I'm just going to let them know that they can pause. Yep. There's too many things here.
I don't even know if they can see that. Hopefully, they will be able to get a pause going at this point in time, but look, I don't know. What's the situation, Jake?
Unfortunately, we don't have the powers for this, so the game will continue.
Yeah, I think we're moving on.
And while we're at this point in time, it is 8-7 for both of the teams. They're pushing on in. They're knocking down those minions the best they can. And honestly, right now, I mean, it's just a very aggressive posture for Zeveron. We can see Equinox and Curse Fury looking for a kill. In Caterpillar and Trummel, they are a little bit forward, but they're not going to go for this. If Trummel gets anywhere near here, they're going to try to pick up that kill.
Okay, so about a level and a half back from the level 10 for Zeveron, so the timing attack isn't going to quite be there. But again, we see Brightwing in the top lane. They're just doing a really nice job making sure to get the full utility out of that map presence that Brightwing has with the phase shift.
Yeah, I mean, just abusing that global presence, dishing out a bit of damage to that top fort, and we can see still that full level lead has been maintained. As this does be captured by Zeveron, it's going to continue to siege up this bottom fort, giving them the experience from those towers, pushing them towards 10. That's forcing this response of complexity. They need to push them off.
Okay, I don't even know if they really have the opportunity to do so. Yeah, Caterpillar's in there. We have the Warriors that are duking it out. But so far, it just kind of seems like the positional advantage is all Zeveron. They're so close to hitting level 10. Brightwing getting that soak in the top lane. I think it's going to be Zeveron hitting level 10. complexity is going to respect that and back out immediately.
All right, guys, well, the ruling came in from the admin. There is no pause allowed unless there is a disconnect in the game. That is the official ruling. Why we had no pause, and yes, they are, in fact, going to bully them back when they get those level 10 heroics. Let's take a look at them very quickly.
Okay, so we have Water Elemental for Jaina, Maelstrom being picked up for Kerrigan. Archon is going to be on Tassadar. I would probably expect a Blink heal for Brightwing, and then Avatar picked up once again for Muradin.
Yeah, they're debating it a little bit. I mean, sometimes heroes or players will opt to just kind of hold that heroic talent until they absolutely need it, because you can catch them off guard with that snap call on the Blink heal or the Emerald Wind.
Look at this. Mad Timmy, top lane, was able to take out the fort by himself, just pushing out and, just making that maximum effectiveness out of the split push. All right, Jake. I think what the plan is for complexity, they realize they have that strong dive potential at level 10, so it looks as though they're playing very passively with the back foot, but I think as soon as they have those heroics at level 10 with the use of Judgment and Wailing Arrow, they're going to look to try to have an engagement that is similar to what we saw in the previous game where Cognitive Gaming was able to turn that big team fight against Tempo Storm, because these compositions are honestly very, very similar.
Yeah, and if you look at Kerrigan, if she gets hit by the Judgment and Wailing Arrow, she doesn't have anything to pull her out of that situation. Brightwing does have a fair amount of healing, but nothing like a Divine Shield, and that's not an option in this game. I like the pickups. We'll see what they can do with it. Vala is still holding that heroic out. Do you think it'll be Strafe or Reign of Vengeance?
I'm thinking Strafe. It's probably going to be something that will be saved for probably around midway through the fight. They're going to, the Judgment is going to fly in, and they're going to try to pick up that target. But since it's an AoE, it's better to try to use that towards the tail end of the fight after a lot of the CCs have been expended, and you can you can get full value out of that Strafe.
But look at the aggression out of complexity. They are still more than a level down. They're trying to finally take out some towers. By providing some structural damage, you get more efficiency out of those temples that come for the next phase, and we're not too far away from that happening.
Yeah, level 13. They really want that talent here, and I'm going to be, as soon as level 13 pops up, we don't have a fight. I want to see if they grab those ice blocks once again, just to make sure that they have that extra ability to try to stave off this super aggressive, heroic style fight that complexity is bringing to the table.
Yeah, I mean, Ice Block is going to pick up a little bit of pace, especially with this aggressive meta, and just look at the damage output of Kerrigan and Jaina, just eliminating these bruisers very, very quickly, holding that level lead, 13-11. We can see those level 13 talents just giving them that control on the battlefield.
Oh, well, actually, in this case, we're going to see Sprint picked up, and I wonder if that is going to end up haunting them if they have the CCs lined up between Tyrael and Tyrande, the Hunter's Mark. That could be very scary, and sometimes you just need that invulnerability button.
Well, Zeveron, they wanted to get aggressive in the jungle, just barely not catching complexity at their own giants, but the temples have in fact spawned. Brightwing will be happy to sit on this top temple just for a few shots, taking about maybe a tenth of all of those shots available. But look at this. They're going to the boss. We call this the throw pit, but if complexity doesn't react in time, they are going to be surprised to see that the boss was scooped up.
They saw actually that the Sentinel was thrown out, and they know that there's that timing window. Okay, but look at this. The Clairvoyance was thrown down. Actually, that's the far sight from Rhaegar, and they have the vision of that area. They saw they were there, said, okay, hold on a second. We're well aware of this type of rotation, and we're going to make sure to look to punish you guys, because it is so hard to start a boss fight when the enemy is aware of this type of positioning and get away with it.
Yeah, but the nice thing about complexity going up is they forced Brightwing off that point. So they forced Brightwing down. They don't have that advantage of Brightwing soaking across the map, which is quite good. And then they were able to keep Zeveron off the boss from capturing it. But during all of that, Zeveron did take about half of the shots from this temple, and they're continuing to hold it.
But look at the positioning of Faye. She realizes that she is going to be the priority target. Does complexity realize this? Caterpillar, all he needs to do is just move up and get the dive. Faye is actually forced to use the sprint to dive away. The silence is thrown down. It actually might be considered wasted onto Faye. And yes, okay, Vala is picked off very quickly. Equinox going in with the combo. The stun onto Sylvanas. That's 2 members down, 3 members down for complexity, 4. And that is going to be a huge team fight for Zeveron.
So decisive, like you mentioned, the Wailing Arrow and the full combo that they put so many resources into trying to kill Jaina, but she just sprinted away, tapped the well, and came back into the battle. Upon that happening, we saw the huge Primal Grass connecting with several targets while Maelstrom was activated on Kerrigan, and once Jaina got there, she was able to just finish and clean up the fight. This is a massive, massive swing in favor of complexity. They're sitting almost 3 levels ahead.
Yeah, also we're only 11 minutes into this game. The bottom lane has been pushed out. The keep almost taken for Zeveron. Hold on a second. That is the initiation we were expecting to see in that last fight. Equinox on Kerrigan is going to end up falling. Is the rest of Zeveron going to be able to make it out in this fight? This is a nice turnaround for complexity.
This is what they need to do. Force them back. Have they overextended? They pick up 1 kill. Faye is their next target. Sprint not quite ready as it was used already. And there she goes. She will fall down, dropping her staff. And is this a situation where you think they should go for the boss? Looks like they're going to do just that.
Yeah, they have a full 15 seconds before Kerrigan and another 15 after that before Jaina is back. That's a lot of their initiation in the team fights. I think that Zeveron realizes this is very likely the play for complexity. We should go up, make the most of it, take the temple that's been sitting in the top lane for quite some time, honestly. Look at this, they have Brightwing soaking. So yes, that was not a great situation for Zeveron, but they're trying to clean up and do as much damage control as possible.
So even though Cole did manage to scoop up that boss, they're so far behind in structures. We can see that the back lines are just being sieged up by that temple. They've already lost the wall. There goes another tower. But on the other side of the map, all 3 forts are still standing. Boss willing away here. In the middle of the map, almost dead. And the top fort is actually sitting at full health. When it comes to Sky Temple, that is a big deal.
Yeah, having those forts already down for complexity, but all it takes is them taking an objective, having a clean fight over one of the temples, and then starting to take away those forts. It's going to catch them up in experience so very quickly. So yes, it looks as though complexity is down really far. Oh man, that fort going down to just a couple of hit points.
Well, we can take a quick moment to look at the talents here. We can see it is level 16 to 15, so that does net a talent advantage to the boys on Zeveron, and that's going to give them the Criterize, a single Blood for Blood, Numbing Blast, which is a 1-second conal root. We have Stone Form on Muradin, making him very hard to eliminate, and Dimensional Warp for Tassadar.
Yeah. We also have to keep in mind, too, the potential at level 16 for complexity to pick up 4 Blood for Bloods. Oh, to deal with Muradin in these fights. Yes, that could be something that they will use to swing those team fights in their favor, along with the crazy initiation and dive that they have available to them. Look at this. They're already starting to clean up a lot of these forts. They're going to fall really quickly in the late game, and it's sort of like a stockpile of experience that complexity has on their side of the map.
I mean, yeah, that pushed them right up to that level 16, and let's see if you were right. It is going to be the quadruple Blood for Blood with the Shooting Star on Tyrande. That gives them so much more burst potential, and look at this. They're waiting. They're trying to do a party bush, but the Oracle from Tassadar will reveal their position.
That's right, and of course there is no Divine Shield available for this composition as well, so there's no saving Muradin if he gets caught with that 60% HP burst. He's not really the target that you would want to dive on, but as long as the positioning is there for complexity, and here it is! Oh my god, Kerrigan losing her HP almost immediately.
Yeah, kind of an early Ancestral Heal going out from Rhaegar that wasn't quite necessary in that event, but it doesn't matter. It's a 1-minute cooldown. They pick up a kill, and this sets them up beautifully for this bottom temple. This will be the first time that complexity is able to even control the temple and get some siege onto the side of Zeveron.
That's right, but this is what I was talking about. They just take a slight advantage in one of these team fights, and they're starting to cash in on the experience that these forts are holding. Yes, there is actually a heavy push in this top lane. Drummel doing his best to try to negate this. That is potentially another keep going down. We see Blinks and Tiger JK dashing back, using that Hearthstone. They want to try to respond to this to keep that keep alive.
Now Muradin does get hit by the Lunar Flare and the Hunter's Mark, but not quite enough for the follow-up. Oh, a very aggressive Haunting Wave out of Trumbull trying to pick this up, but Blizzard will be enough to zone and force them back. The big part of this, though, is the fact that they did manage to keep this keep alive for the time being. Interior is still sitting on that bottom shrine.
I think he realizes that the rotation potential is absolutely there for Zeveron. Is going to back out. Of course, was able to finish off that temple. We're starting to see compLexity really start to take a foothold, especially after level 10. They haven't had too many opportunities to team fight, but that blood for blood looks terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the structural advantage before those temples spawned, and we said all 3 forts still remain for the side of Zeveron. Guess what? Those forts have now been eliminated, and there is even some structural damage done to the back line of their walls. So this is actually looking far more even at this point in time.
Absolutely. I mean, what was the situation they were in before? They were down, what, 2.5 levels? And, you know, a lot of structures, but they were able to cash in on those structures. Now they're on the same level as Zeveron.
Curse Fury waiting in the bush. Caterpillar will find him very quickly, and it looks like they don't want to commit to a fight where they don't have full vision. They don't want to just overextend their bounds because a single team fight could end the game at this point in time.
Absolutely. With some of those keeps down to very, very low amounts of HP. A big thing about the initiation, yeah, Tyrael has a lot of range on his judgment, but if they're going to try to execute that combo and then follow up with the 4 blood for bloods, they really need to make sure that the positioning is somewhat close for the rest of the team, which is, it's a scary spot to be in, so they're going to probably look for some kind of rotations. But when we saw it previously, it was absolutely, they rotated around actually just right here into the top spot, but this is actually possibly it here.
Oh my goodness.
That's so fast.
Muradin. That's a massive health pool that just went down like it was nothing. And they are on the aggression, pushing forward. Equinox will be caught a bit out of position, but it doesn't look like they have the lockdown available for that. Forcing them back, the temples have spawned.
It kind of, yeah, compLexity is very content with taking these small pickoffs. They judgment onto the target, throw down the blood for bloods, they kill that person very quickly, and it just affords them so much map control. They can back up, and look, they're continuing to party bush. They might even try to catch Zeveron out of position once again.
Yeah, they expect Zeveron to potentially go up through the middle, but no, they're getting aggressive here. Chthon Lock is the only target that's a bit out of position, and with the Dimensional Warp, he can back on out. Nicely done. They stay alive, but still 15 more seconds on the death timer for Muradin.
Oh, look at this. compLexity was very aware of the potential for Zeveron to go down and take the bottom boss. We saw the Sentinel was thrown immediately. They're well aware. This just goes to show you how seasoned compLexity is in trying to make these style of comebacks, because now it kind of feels like Zeveron is a little bit on the back foot. They haven't been able to take a real solid team fight. In, you know, the last 3 fights have really gone the way of compLexity in terms of them diving a target, picking off that single person, and then backing up and taking map control.
But Zeveron is making the right call here. They split up to soak as much experience as they could to help them get to level 20. Level 20 has just been hit by compLexity, and it's going to be very even. There it is, 20 on both sides of the map. Middle Temple is out of ammunition, and we will have a massive fight over this top shrine.
Yes, potential for a lot of mobility to be picked up by either side in the form of Bolts of the Storm. Extra Archon damage is very possible, and we're looking to see Zeveron almost bully out Caterpillar from this fight. And there it is once again with the silence. The cleanse was there, but it wasn't in time, actually. And that is just a huge way for compLexity to start the team fight. The Ancestral Healing goes down. They want to get all the value out of that strafe if possible. Chthon Luck throwing down the auto attacks in that Archon, but it's out. And that's actually a trade, 1-for-1 for both teams. The positioning advantage is still there for Zeveron.
Yeah, as soon as they threw that combo down to eliminate Kerrigan, Tyrande fell just about as quickly, so nicely done by Zeveron, just coming back into this game, 4v4 over this top temple. The stakes are very high because the game could surely end if the wipe is actually just clean for one team.
Yeah, absolutely, and honestly, taking structure advantage at this point, taking the temples, surely means that the enemy teams will be able to take keeps. Curse Fury really diving into the enemy line. Wow!
The blink from McIntyre was so clutch. He is down to almost no health points. Caterpillar might not be as lucky. The stun comes out the Stormbolt from Muradin, and that will pick up a kill, forcing them back. This was huge. Zeveron can now go back to this top temple, sit there, and get that siege on.
Yes, absolutely, and this is going to be a big deal. The structures are starting to dwindle, and all it will take is a single temple while the core is naked to finish this game. And yeah, as you can see, those quite a few bolts of the storm picked up for either team. That is going to be the hardened shield for Murden. Storm shields on either side. Just a lot of defensive play for both teams.
The one thing I want to highlight is the rewind on Tyrande. This is going to allow Tyrande to use that Lunar Flare twice. Maybe send 2 owls out for additional information with the Sentinel. Rewind actually resets the cooldown for all of your basic abilities, and it's quite a great talent. But during all of this, we see that Zeveron has come down to the middle of the map, picked up a boss, and they're going to get aggressive with it.
Yes, they can see that. Like you mentioned, the owl to give vision, but that's just telling them something they already knew as the boss is captured. Look, Zeveron is really just starting to pack the punch here. They're rotating around, taking the aggressive camps.
Yeah, they have the Giants and the boss in this bottom lane, and it looks like they're going to use this to split push. Marching down the middle of the map, this keep is already exposed, and since they know the response has to be in the bottom lane, they're going to use this window of opportunity to try to eliminate the middle keep.
Yes, and Faye, of course, on Jaina has the ability to throw down her trait, doing a ton of damage onto these structures, and that is going to be both keeps falling down. That is now a naked core for compLexity. They have to take the next temple. That's it. They have to take it.
The Wailing Arrow went out and was dodged by the Dimensional Warp of Cthulhu Luck. Very nicely done, and that is a heroic that's wasted. The cooldown is significant. We see 47 seconds here, and actually it's completely broken on the UI.
No matter, but you're right. That is a huge cooldown, and this might actually time out fairly well. I think the next temples are going to spawn in about 45 seconds or so, and I want to say that the next set of temples is the 5th set. Okay, all right. It's not the triple set, but still, this is going to split up compLexity. This is a very, very crucial moment. The game will be decided probably within the next minute.
Yes, like you said, these 2 temples spawning, their core is very vulnerable. If compLexity can eliminate the enemy team, they can push forward to try to end. But if compLexity loses here, that's lights out. Zeveron will take it, and we see the Ancestral going down. Not quite enough as Vala falls very quickly. The Starfall is placed in a wonderful position, just going down, laying down so much damage. But Equinox, he's far forward with the Maelstrom. Primal Grasp is whiffed, but Kettle is on the wrong side.
Yes, and with those 2 heroes taken down, the map control is going to go back to Zeveron. All they have to do is back up at this point, hold those 2 temples, and it is going to be GG for Zeveron.
Very, very impressive play. We can see them holding this middle temple. We can see them holding the top temple. And all that does is spell this core falling oh so very quickly. The siege potential, the power is so strong.
Absolutely. We see GG is called from Blinks, the healer for compLexity. That's going to end game number 1. We see a 1-0 advantage for Zeveron.
Now, guys, Zeveron coming into this match would largely be considered the underdogs. They're actually the only team in this tournament that is not in the ESL Major League for North America. We gave them an invite because of how powerful all of these players are individually. The team as a 5-stack is quite young, and to see them have this kind of result, take out a team as strong as compLexity with pretty convincing fashion in that game, Kubi, I am very excited.
Yeah, they looked very comfortable. It looked as though the communication between the team was there. And like you mentioned, these guys are all veterans to the game, and it seemed like their decision-making was very much so on point, and their ability to fend off that very aggressive dive style that compLexity was bringing to the table. Kudos to those guys. They earned that 1-0 victory. And I think we're actually just going to go ahead and get the next game set up. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, guys, so stick around.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back here to WCA America 2015. I'm Salajik, once again joined by the Kubi. And man, I cannot believe Zeveron took that game.
Yeah, the underdogs, they have it, right? So they're showing a lot of cohesiveness between the team, taking out the giants that are compLexity. It was a really cool composition, actually something that was mirrored from the previous set. We don't actually get to see that too often between four completely different teams running a very similar style and counter style to that. A couple of different approaches to it. Didn't end up panning out, actually, in either case for the super aggressive team, but we'll have to see what happens in game number 2.
Alrighty, guys, well, get on social media. Let us know what you guys think of that last game and who you think will win this series. We have the draft ready to roll, and make sure you hit that WCA 2015 hashtag on Twitter. But let's hop right on in to the draft.
Boom, there it is. Zeveron with the first pick. First ban, boom, Illidan.
Yeah, boom indeed.
Boom.
All right, so let's talk about this. The map is Tomb of the Spider Queen, and this is a map where the lanes are so very close together. Illidan's been banned out. Do you think compLexity should consider banning Kerrigan, or do you think they should leave her open for the event where McIntyre could show off his skills with her, because his Kerrigan is legendary?
He kind of invented the hero, at least as of use in this last patch. If they don't ban out Kerrigan here, I think Zeveron is going to scoop it up very quickly within that first pick. I don't see why they wouldn't. Now, what were they showing previously for their first pick, compLexity? You recall?
I do not recall, unfortunately, but we do actually see the ban is going to be Tyrande. And with Sylvanas being picked up, who is great on this map, she can push. She has a Wailing Arrow, which can just flat out win fights. There's the Uther. Give me the Kerrigan. No!
No, Jake! His prediction, not quite there, but no, Uther is a very strong support now, especially with them healing wards not being quite as potent as they were before. They even lost 5 seconds off of their healing duration, so a lot of changes to healing ward means that we're seeing Uther very highly prioritized.
And there is Kerrigan being stolen. Now, if you do give Uther and Kerrigan and Vala to compLexity, that might be considered a mistake, but I mean, Kerrigan pairs so very well with Jaina and Sylvanas, but they've already shown all 3 of their assassins at the start of the draft, and that could be a weakness.
Yeah, absolutely, and with all these changes to the Warriors as well, I'm always curious to see, it kind of seems like right now which team is going to scoop up Muradin first, because he has a lot of changes to him, but didn't really see any nerfs at all, just a lot of slight buffs, nice quality of life changes. Just seems to be a lot more viable in controlling that team environment.
Guys, just a quick reminder, Kael'thas is in fact banned from this tournament, so he cannot be played. He has just been released with the patch today, and that's a little bit too early to throw him in. But speaking of
yeah, that's right. We have the Falstad and the Tyrael. This is going way back. We're talking like 4 or 5 months back. We used to see this like kind of lined up as a blow-up composition, similar to what we saw previously, but this allows compLexity to stay a little bit further back and allow Tyrael to jump in on that target while he's stunned out. Of course, it's a great opportunity for Falstad to line up that Hinterwind's Blast if he's going to go for that Gathering Power plus Overdrive style build. Huge amounts of burst damage, and it's Tomb of the Spider Queen. There's a lot of opportunities where the enemy team might be clumped up between those lanes.
Yeah, and we do see Brightwing being picked up now. She works greatly with Kerrigan, but she's also going to be a huge target for that Judgment Hinterwind's Blast, because if you can remove the healer early, that's going to set you up nicely. But I think that might even force Brightwing to picking up that Ice Block once again, because that is the Snap Call reaction, and they go for Muradin as their warrior.
Other big thing to talk about as well with Brightwing is she and Uther are the only heroes or supports in the game that have Cleanse. And Cleanse being a very nice tool. We've seen it used many times, especially to deal with Tyrael's Judgment in, and if you can just cleanse that at the last second, then you can just walk away from that combination and might be able to just get away from that Hinterwind's Blast. Force 2 huge heroics to be off cooldown, and boom, now you're not off to a great start to those team fights.
Kubi. The last pick is going to be Zeratul. We talked about the blow-up potential of Falstad paired with Tyrael, but you throw Zeratul in the mix, and oh my goodness, just the power potential of just eliminating someone so very quickly is there, and Void Prison to set up for huge combos. You can get the great Hinterland Blast on one target with Judgment, but if you can VP 3 or 4 members, you can set up the sickest Hinterland Blast you've ever seen.
Absolutely, and also the potential for the Divine Storm. We have Vala with the multi-shot and strafe, or if she wants to go for more CC, a lockdown with the Rain of Vengeance. All the potential is there, so they're really sort of using Zeratul as this wild card. We haven't seen him played all that much in this qualifier event. Hasn't really seen a lot of changes in this last patch, but is always sort of that trump card for some of the teams to set up crazy play.
There's so many cool things that can happen in this match. Zeveron currently leads 1-0, which might come as a surprise. If we look at the history of compLexity, they have been very dominant in the NA scene. A lot of players, or just viewers would say that they are maybe the top 2 or 3 team in the country, even potentially the region. But man, Zeveron taking this series up 1-0. Do you think they can close it out here on Tomb of the Spider Queen?
They might be able to. They have a very strong draft. Actually, speaking of that, guys, please get on social media. We want to hear, do you guys think that compLexity has drafted a strong enough composition to be able to come back and take this series to 1-1? Use the hashtag WCA 2015. Follow us at WCA_America. Tweet at us. We want to hear what you guys' thoughts are on this.
Yeah, guys, we're just getting that lobby ready. It looks like one player is having a brief technical difficulty. They need about 1 minute for LAN center issues. So we're just making sure that gets resolved. We have our admin relaying us the information live here. But man, we can just look at these compositions again. I mean, Zeratul, Falsehead, Tyrael, there's so much blow potential. And like you mentioned, we have the potential for Divine Storm. That's AoE, but Divine Shield is also a big option. And we've seen this in the past, Kubi. We've seen the Divine Shield style paired with Zeratul in that just very Shadow Assault, Shadow Assault aggressive style in the past. Do you think we'll see that here today?
It's certainly a possibility. I actually completely forgot about that. But having that Shadow Assault, we're going to see potentially a build that is very much focused attacks, possibly maybe the Vampiric Assault. Getting that auto attack upgrade at level 1 every time they kill minions to power it up. So we're looking at something, Searing Attacks, Berserker. Everything is just very different from what we're used to seeing with Zeratul. Is all about blink in, get that damage done, blink out using Wormhole. But this is all about get the Divine Shield, find that target in the back line, and eliminate them.
All right, Kubi, I'm putting you on the spot. Let's see your talent knowledge. Does Zeratul have follow-through? Because follow-through received a bit of an update in this last patch.
I'm almost positive he does not have follow-through. I'll go ahead and say that on camera. Yeah, call me out if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Even still, though, Searing Attacks, you just, it's activatable. You drain some of your mana, but you get that 25% increase to all of your auto attacks. It's a huge amount of damage up. And we've seen this style with the Shadow Assault. It can really wreak havoc, and teams that don't know how to deal with it, it's scary.
I mean, their response to it, they have a few things, right? They have, in theory, Kerrigan. She has the full combo to try to lock him down. They have Polymorph on Brightwing. They have the stun on Muradin. The problem being is that if you have Divine Shield on that Illidan, or the Zeratul, excuse me, you can't stop him. It's actually kind of like having an Illidan with Metamorphosis, where he's very much in your face constantly, chasing you down, blowing you up, and doing a little bit too much damage.
Sure, and one of the responses to this potential style is to use that Shrink Ray at level 13. Pretty sure that Brightwing has the ability to use or to pick this up at 13, but the other side of the coin is that she would probably very much likely want to pick up Ice Block as well, and that presents a very tricky situation. That's really what Heroes of the Storm is all about, is this on the fly talent adjustment that you need to make to the enemy team. But perhaps compLexity has put Zeveron in a weird spot where they have to make this judgment call. Yeah, I get it, because judgment's going to be thrown on him. Yeah.
Now, this is kind of throwing into left field. Do you think Sanctification is a possibility? We have Judgment for being huge for this blow-up, but Sanctification makes it so your entire team is invulnerable for a short period of time. Do you think it makes sense for a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen with the composition that they have picked up here?
If they had something that was a little bit more lockdown, maybe, to try to force the positioning of the enemy team. The problem that has always been with Sanctification is that you can pop down the Sanctification, get a lot of value out of it, but the enemy team can just walk away. And there's nothing to hold them in place. We have seen some hero talents like Force Wall used to hold them in place. Maybe a really aggressive Brightwing is able to move forward and use Emerald Wind to push them back into the Sanctification. Those types of plays are possible, but I just don't really see the potential for that with their composition.
All right, well, we'll find out very soon. The game is loading up, and guys, again, get on social media. Let us know who you think is going to win this series. The hashtag is WCA 2015, and the map is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now, historically, this map is very aggressive, Kubi, and honestly, with Kerrigan on the board, I think we're going to see a very action-packed game.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned, of course, the space between the lanes is very small, so there's a huge chance that that could be the style that is played here. But let's get to introducing these teams. On the blue side, that's going to be Zeveron. They have that 1-0 advantage over compLexity. In the bottom lane, we have Mad Timmy once again on Brightwing. Faye is going to be playing Jaina. Fury on Muradin. Equinox is going to be playing Kerrigan, and Cathan Luck rounding it out on Sylvanas.
And on the other half of the map, we have compLexity with Caterpillar playing as Tyrael. It's going to be McIntyre on the Zeratul Tiger. JK will be playing as Vala, and then we have Trummel on Falstad, and rounding out the team is Blinks on Uther, rocking that medic skin from StarCraft.
All right, so we can actually get a quick read into the style of play that Zeratul will have. Actually, I don't know if we have time to pull up the talent window very quickly. Do we have that Seasoned Marksman?
No.
Okay.
Regen Master. Now, Regen Master could, in theory, go both ways, right? It's just a little bit more sustainable, but it is very likely going to be that Spellcaster-style Zeratul that we have seen in the past.
Yeah, so we're going to expect to see very mobile Zeratul with the wormhole to blink in and out. Try to throw a lot of that pressure from the back line so that he can try to eliminate some of those squishier targets.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they excel at. He excels at just getting in there, doing a lot of damage, and quickly escaping using the wormhole that you mentioned. But right now, they have to worry about Kerrigan. She is constantly going to be a threat, and they have Brightwing with those drones. So these drones, look at the coverage it has.
Yeah.
This blue radius that we see is actually how much vision it's providing, revealing all 3 of these fields of vision.
Yeah, we can see McIntyre actually ran through there. He's probably going to be eliminating that right now. So, if you guys aren't familiar with Tomb of the Spider Queen, of course, this map objective is all about collecting the gems that you can see dropping from those spider minions in the back line. When you have collected enough gems, as you guys can see in the lower right-hand corner of the map, it starts at 50 for either team. You need to go to those 2 turn-in points in between the top and mid, and the mid and bottom of the map. When you do that, you get web weavers that push down your side of the map and provide a huge amount of structural push.
And it's tough to respond because of web weavers. They come down all 3 lanes at once, and it can just be very tough to make the correct response in terms of which one to eliminate, especially because it's just a split push opportunity for the enemy team.
Absolutely, but we have perhaps potential for, we've talked about this in the past, the Murd and Jaina combo, and we saw them roaming in some of the previous games as well. Have you seen enough effectiveness out of it, or do you think it's sort of like an anti-aggression combination of heroes?
Yeah, I mean, it does a lot when it comes to the actual team fights, but in terms of roaming around trying to pick up kills, I don't know how often I've actually seen it be successful.
Okay, so McIntyre just sitting, keeping an eye on this turn-in point. Of course, we normally would have vision of how many gems are on either time, but of course, Ollie's Observer client is not quite compatible with this patch. Hopefully we'll have that fixed for you guys tomorrow, in case you guys are wondering why you can't see those talents at the bottom side of the screen.
But we'll just have to keep a close eye onto this
yep.
account next to their name, because you can see 5 and 6 gems are being held respectively for those players. And it takes 50, as you can see in the bottom right corner, to get the summon on the web weavers when you turn them into these coffers.
You know what this is, Jake? This is actually, hold on a second, Equinox. Yes, he was holding the stun. I like that play. He knew that he needed to make sure that he got the stun off in time after the barrel roll, and actually it was a bit of an overextension. We see Muradin going down, so that's going to be a trade for both sides.
I mean, that's the power of Protective Shield. If we look at those talents here, we see Protective Shield picked up by both Brightwing and Uther, and with that shield, they bought so much extra time on the life of Equinox, and it ended up forcing Muradin so far forward that he died as well.
Yep. Absolutely. And another thing to keep in mind, too, I noticed that we saw 2 Gathering Powers that were picked up for Zeratul and Falstad. The way that ability works is you get a flat 5% increase to your ability damage, but for every kill that you have stacked up under your belt during this life, you're able to get an additional 10%, up to 15%. That's a big deal for spellcasters like Falstad and Zeratul. So every time they die, they take a huge chunk of damage loss.
Yeah, it's really tough to actually have to deal with that, especially when the damage is being mitigated like that, but we actually see the first web weavers will be summoned. 50 gems have been turned in, and they're actually rotating back to pick up these bruisers. Now, when the web weavers do finally spawn, all the mercenary camps that haven't been aggroed will actually dissipate. This will net them a much more powerful push down the middle lane.
Yeah, and of course, compLexity is well aware of this, but since the Bruiser camp is so far back behind enemy lines, there's nothing they can do to stop this other than just try to make sure they're representing in all the lanes to continue to get that soak. The level advantage is very close. Zeveron just now hitting level 7. What is going to be the response from compLexity to deal with these web weavers?
We can see they try to put a bit of damage onto that big queen in the middle, trying to just remove her, but we can see the escort is here with Murden and Kerrigan in the front line. You don't want to push your face in that because you will get pulled into something terrible.
Yes, absolutely. It sort of negates the whole defender's advantage when you have those summoned monsters and that wave that comes out from the queens, like you were mentioning. But also Sylvanas being pushed on top of this, it's just a big advantage for Zeveron because they don't have to deal with taking damage from the structures.
Yeah, she was left alone for a bit too long. We can see that Fort has fallen quite low in terms of his health points, but we actually have... Oh, Trummel is okay. Just a bit of a hiccup. He is back in the game.
Yep. Okay, hopefully we have those connectivity issues sorted out between the teams. We want to have the best possible match between these guys, and this series is already shaping up to be a great one with the underdog, Zeveron, really bringing the heat to compLexity.
Yeah, they have had aggression on this entire game, just pushing on forward, seeing what they can make happen. And right now, it's currently 8-8. The experience is very even. We can actually get a quick update on these talents. Kubi, anything here standing out to you?
I like the cleanse pickup from both the teams on the Brightwing and the Uther, like we mentioned before. Those are the only two heroes that can pick that up. Vala opting to grab the searing attacks, not really going for that stop build. Oh, Trummel at the last second getting the barrel roll to keep him alive. That could have possibly been the second time he gets picked up. Nice dodge.
Yeah, he's going to just hearth on home, make sure he holds on to those 10 gems that he's currently sitting on and get his health restored. He can actually fly back into battle, and he's going to be doing just that, flying across the map to resume with his team as they fend off the opposing team Zeveron.
Hold on, actually, with a little bit of a counter rotation. Equinox is now the one that's out of position. Mad Timmy is losing his life, and yes, the Hungering Arrow will be just in time to pick that off. That's a quick 2-0 advantage for compLexity.
Now, taking out two members like that allows them to turn in enough gems to get that summon. When all three of those web weavers walk down the lane, they're going to put on a lot of pressure. But look at this. They're already taking out this wall well before they get there. This is going to net them a lot of experience and hit that level 10 for them.
Yeah, not only that, but pushing out one of these waves much further than the enemy team's wave allows you to really push those summoned web weavers really far forward. Yes, we see the Judgment, Hinterland's Blast, the Void Prison. Ooh, nice little cool icon there. Divine Shield. And, of course, I'm going to guess Strafe will probably be picked up, but they could also go with the Rain of Vengeance for that extra CC.
Yeah, on the other side, it's Willing Arrow, Blink Heal, the Avatar, Maelstrom for Kerrigan, and, of course, the Water Elemental picked up by Jaina. Those are the 10 heroics, but the Web Weavers continue to push forward, and we can see quickly the experience goes from being in favor of Zeveron to now being in favor of compLexity from that nice play they made earlier on.
Yes, those kills picked up combined with the push from the Web Weavers. They're able to take out quite a few towers, not quite netting themselves a fort, but that one little level advantages they have right now. You can see that they're roaming as 5. They feel confident in their position on the map, and they're probably rotating down to try to take these giants.
Just continuing to keep that aggression on the map, collecting those gems. They have quite a few on the team right now, and they're picking up more as we speak. On the other side, though, they are all sitting on a fair amount themselves. 23 for Curse Fury. If he was to lose his life, that would be tragic.
Absolutely, and the position is very far forward for him, and there is the Judgment.
We talked about him losing his life. They go for the attempt on that, but they do not succeed. Equinox goes into the front line, falls back into the Void Prison defensively, but that lines up a huge Hinterland Blast, picking up 2, 3 kills, 4 kills. That is a massive play. The only one to survive is Muradin.
Trummel the Beast with the Hinterland's Blast. Of course, the setup on McIntyre with the Void Prison. What was actually kind of cool about that was they threw the Void Prison down, started focusing a lot of damage onto Muradin, and forced Kerrigan and Brightwing to retreat into that position because they no longer have the backup from the rest of the team. So they almost forced more people into the Void Prison, which is a great setup for Trummel to throw down that Hinterland's Blast, which was devastating.
Now they have more than a level lead. The kills are 7-1 in favor of compLexity, and we forgot to mention that every time you kill an enemy hero, you actually get a few gems off of them. So that gave them a big lead in terms of those gems. 3 more will net them even more, another push with those Web Weavers, and they pick up some mercenaries to even push that lead forward.
Yep. Not only that, but another couple minion waves, and that is going to be level 13 for compLexity. Just cleaning up this group right here will likely net them this talent advantage.
We do see that Zeveron is starting to get a little bit aggressive, though. They know that compLexity might be a little split. They went back to base to restore their mana, restore their health, make sure they're ready for a big fight, but the talent advantage is something we can't discredit. 13 to 11, that nets them these talents that we can look at. We have the Frost Shot, the Shrink Ray, the Imposing Will, Wormhole, and Crippling Hammer, which is going to make Falstad even more terrifying with that Q.
I like the Shrink Ray pickup. That's just a direct counter to Kerrigan. They want to make sure that the damage output, they could also throw it down onto Jam because it takes the damage output and halves it for that hero. So when you're looking at those big burst heroes, it's a great way to deal with that. Really an underutilized talent, in my opinion.
Now we've starting to see it a little bit more, but look at that hammer just going out from the far distance. Now, we saw the big setup in the last fight with the Void Prison. I think that this time around, Zeveron's going to be a little bit more wary to not get caught clumped up because the power of that Hinterland's Blast is quite formidable.
Yes, but we have the Web Weavers pushing, like you mentioned, and them forced to be split up is really going to cause them to realize, again, we have to talk about the spacing of the map, the tight corridors, and if you want to not be clumped up for Void Prison, that kind of forces you backwards. And in the sense where they're already pushing, this is going to allow compLexity a lot of opportunity to push forward with these Web Weavers. And look at this already, they've taken down all of the forts, and they're continuing to move forward.
Yeah, all 3 forts have been eliminated. 3 Web Weavers still standing, and Murden was looking for a potential cheeky position in the brush there, but not going to be working out. He backs on up, respecting the enemy team and their power to quickly eliminate him if he's out of position.
compLexity making full use of the map objective here. Zeveron realizes they're not level 13 yet, and it's going to be difficult for them to take a fight, especially when you consider the utility of abilities like Shrink Ray, like we mentioned. That's a huge step up for their ability to team fight. And look at this. Yep, see compLexity, they realize that they have pushed as much as they can get with the objective. They're now on even talent tiers. It just goes to show you, once again, they're a very experienced team. They understand the flow of where a team that's behind can take an advantage and just try to not give it to them.
And look how many gems they have. After all of that, they pushed, they collected as many gems as possible, and they're turning in a massive bounty. 59 in right now. Blinks has the one final gem needed for another turn in, and that will give them another massive push. And the last one did so much. Look at the levels right now.
Absolutely, and they're going to really try to play somewhat passively for this, and they just want to try to hit that level 16 advantage to give themselves another talent tier.
And we'll see that level 16 hit rather quickly with these bruisers being picked up and the summon of yet more Web Weavers. They're pushing down the middle lane. You can see that fog. It's a cloud. It's raining spiders. And there she is.
Thought you were going to pull a Superman reference on me there. Almost. But I got to say, compLexity, they're looking like a whole new team with this composition that you can feel the confidence in their play, in the rotations. Look at that. Tyrael just throwing down the Eldruin's Might gives the vision of the area, and that just puts a huge damper on Zeveron because they know they need to make a play like that to come back.
But compLexity is too smart for that. They are well aware that's how they can lose this game, is by getting caught out by the crazy combos that Kerrigan can set up. They're moving forward. They're clumped up right now. Even though their focus is here on the middle lane, those Web Weavers, they have the presence across the map. Bottom keep being sieged up, even the top keep is about to be sieged up, and they have to make something happen quick.
Yes, but the level 16 has just been picked up, and that makes it so much more difficult for Zeveron to engage onto this position. McIntyre, if he sees that quick Void Prison opportunity, he will pull the trigger on that. And yeah, we're seeing very standard compositions. I got to mention again that Overdrive for Falstad. He hasn't died in a while, and he's got those kills racked up. That Hinterland's Blast, if you thought the last one was scary, the next one is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, Overdrive just empowers all of his spells, makes him just such a powerful force. Ooh. But Kerrigan goes in with the combo. We see the follow-up with the Judgment trying to push them back, and it is successful, but the Water Elemental is chasing Tiger JK. Void Prison trying to buy some time, and it looks like it will be successful. Hinterland Blast should be lined up here, but no, the Wailing Arrow connecting with both Uther and Tyrael. They are opting to back on out, but with the slows provided by Jaina, I don't know if Blinks can escape.
This is going to be close, and yes, with the stun there, we didn't see the cleanse was able to be used. It probably was used in the previous fight. That means that Uther is now out. That is their sole support, and compLexity is now going to be forced to be on the back foot. This is a great way, a great opportunity for Zeveron to jump back into this game.
Yeah, they're going to get the turn-in and get those Web Weavers summoned for them. This will finally allow them to get a little bit of structural damage done to the side of compLexity, but the damage has been done. The bottom keep has been eliminated, which means there will be those catapults pushing for the duration of the game.
Absolutely, and we see that Zeveron is backing up, still taking that mercenary camp. I think compLexity thought about doing it, but realized that they're kind of on the back foot, especially without that healer. And like we mentioned before, the vision of that area is not necessarily granted to like full all of the amount of heroes that are there, but they can see that they're taking the camp because it is still available on the map. That might have prompted a rotation from Zeveron, which could have been scary for compLexity.
Yeah, but compLexity sees this massive push, and they are responding. All 5 members back alive in a single Void Prison could spell disaster for Zeveron, so they have to be very careful with their positioning here. Zeratul is always lurking in the shadows. He has that stealth. He is so hard to just pin out because he only shows a shimmer to the opposing side.
Absolutely. I think Zeveron might still have like about a 30-second window before the Void Prison. No, it's actually up. So we're looking at a very high cooldown for that ability, so they need to make sure that they land it and they hit multiple heroes with it, because it seems to be the big key for them being able to land those big wins for the team fights. Yeah, we can see the Criterize is picked up. That's going to be a lot more burst damage for their team, especially whatever target they end up comboing under Jaina.
Yeah, they actually also have Cold Embrace. Now, both of these increase the damage received by the opposing side. When you pull them in with Kerrigan, the enemy team is going to fall oh so very quickly. I mean, Jaina, she's got that massive damage. You amplify it by 25%?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is scary.
And they don't, other than Kerrigan making that pull if they don't get that, but they need to make sure that they are wary of the positioning of the Void Prison as well. I know I mentioned that previously, but if they want to try to land that full combo, it's going to require quite a few members of Zeveron to be close together to follow up on that, which is kind of a scary spot to be in, especially when compLexity has already shown that they are more than willing and capable of following up on that Void Prison.
52 gems have been turned in rather quickly. Only 1 remains sitting on Faye. They need 8 for a full turn-in. But just notice the positioning on compLexity. They're constantly just warding them away from their towers, making sure they can't get any kind of structural damage done without fully committing to a fight until they see a slip-up in positioning. Once they find a single target that is out of position, that's when you're going to see the judgment go in, and that's when you're going to see someone blown up and compLexity try to take the advantage.
Absolutely. You can see McIntyre just being that slippery snake, blinking in, using that wormhole ability, throwing that combo down, and just providing that poke. And it could force a reaction out of Zeveron, so they have to be careful. There it is once again. Fury taking just those pot shot damages.
Yeah, he's happy to tank that damage because he is Muradin, he is the tank. But Cattle, when he sees weakness, that's when you'll see judgment. They're just waiting very patiently. They should in fact sense that he is in the front line somewhere, lurking in the shadows, and that's why they're backing up. They're collecting those gems. 8 more are required for a turn-in on the side of Zeveron.
And you can see that the positioning is absolutely in favor for compLexity. They have this turn-in point locked down. They have all the vision of it. So Zeveron knows this. They're kind of on the back foot. They don't have any mercenary camps that they can take on their side of the map. So really the control is in the hand of compLexity. No, they were able to sneak the turn-in at the last second. Fury. And this provides a great gap of, just a breaking of the pacing for Zeveron. It just felt like compLexity was like, hey, you know what? We're willing to sit here in the middle of the map until we hit level 20, and then we'll break a team fight too. If you lose that fight, we're going to finish the game.
It's a tough situation, but nicely done by Fury, getting that turn in. They just fall back, regroup, get his 5, and they're going to wait for those spiders to march down the lane. But in response, compLexity picks up a pair of bruisers, and they're happy to take this fight in the middle of the map. The combo comes out from Kerrigan. We see the invulnerability going off onto Zeratul very early on, and that Void Prison connecting with 3 or 4 targets. Hinterland Blast, almost enough to kill Brightwing, but the shield is there, the ice block, but it's not enough. Brightwing falls first. Next is Caterpillar being blown up by the water elemental in the backside, and Fury is fighting with the Singularity Bomb blowing him up, Trummel flying forward, picking off Cthulhu. It is all over the place right now.
A crazy fight between the teams. I gotta say, the Void Prison setup wasn't quite there, but the Hinterlands Blast once again really set the stage for them to just start picking off targets one by one. And we saw that once that was thrown down, we saw Brightwing was the next target to shift. She was able to pop the ice block, but the blink wasn't quite in time to save her, and they just kept following up on all of these kills. This is what compLexity needed, so they're going to be jumping back in the game, but it's very scary for Zeveron. They have that keep down in the bottom lane. It looks as though compLexity is going to play it safe, push out the map objective and the waves further forward, and they might even look to... I don't think they have enough time to quite take the boss, but perhaps they could set up the position that they, send a message to the team. Yeah, we're looking to take the boss. You have to come up here and respond. And look, there's those shrouds up there that can set up an opportunity to gank.
The one big thing that they do have here is the opportunity to turn in all those gems. Offload all of them. We see 15 coming off from Tiger JK, 16 from Trummel, and that will put them at nearly enough for another summon. If they do get that summon, those 2 final keeps, they are at a huge risk.
That's a very good point. With the 2 keeps left, that is, Zeveron really needs to hold forward on that position. And yeah, we can just see that the teams are just playing very passively, but level 20 has just been hit for compLexity. I think we might have a moment of opportunity to see what those talent tier picks up are. Uther with the redemption, that is a big deal. When you see he dies, it goes into his ghost form, he will revive at 50% HP after that.
And we also see the epic mount on Falstad. Now, this is a pretty uncommon pickup. We could have expected something like the Hinterland's Blast to just improve that with Call of the Wildhammer, the level 20 talent. Now, but that's not the case. We're actually just going to see incredible amounts of mobility and aggressive plays available for Falstad, but it can be used to retreat. Now, Fury gonna just take the brunt of the damage, and they go for it with the Judgment and the Hinterland's Blast, and that is a huge Void Prison. This can allow them to set up, but look at the Wailing Arrow in response. Huge plays on both sides. Kerrigan in the front line with Maelstrom, but it's not quite enough. compLexity is tearing through Chthon Luck, and we have the Ice Block for Jaina. Not gonna be enough. That's gonna be an Ace Kubi, and I think compLexity has done it.
Drummel with the epic mount flying in, knowing that they have the advantage. They're going for the kill onto the core. That's going to put this series at 1-1. Wow, that was a crazy play, especially, I mean, they were able to blow up the tank so fast. And honestly, the Void Prison was not timed out all that well with the Hinterland's Blast. It actually blocked off 2 of the members from getting hit from it, but the fact that they had the positioning, and we saw that crazy silence throwing down just past the Void Prison, able to hit so many of their members, but that's just the power of that level 20 advantage that they had.
I have to give a lot of props to Vala in that situation. Like you mentioned, we had that big Wailing Arrow that came out past the Void Prison as a defensive Wailing Arrow. They wanted to buy time with it, but Vala backed up, stayed out of reach of it, and threw down that Rain of Vengeance, buying some time, allowing them to win that fight and ultimately win the game.
Absolutely, and you can tell how much this game meant to both of the teams. You could see the passivity in their play, but they realized one slip-up at this point, compLexity could be out of the tournament. And honestly, I would say they're very much favored to move on to the round of 4. And Zeveron, just really tight play all over the place, and it was a super close series so far.
I mean, after a win like that, you have to be feeling good. You have to be riding that momentum, riding the hype. So, guys, let us know who you think is going to win this next game. Get on social media. Use the hashtag WCA2015 to let us know if you want Zeveron or compLexity to win game number 3, our final game of the night. But on that note, we're going to get ready for it, throw to a quick commercial break, and we will be back in just a few. Alrighty, guys, welcome back here to WCA America 2015. I'm Solid Jake, joined by the Kubi, and we're going into the final game of the night.
Final game, final round, final series of the round of 8. This is going to be the final team that is going into the round of 4 to face against Tempo Storm. We already have a really stacked round of 4, but Zeveron and compLexity, they're showing that these two teams are so evenly matched, giving us a great series so far.
The only way you could get more final than this is to play Final Fantasy on your phone while you play in this final series. But the map is actually going to be Cursed Hollow, I believe.
I'm not quite sure on the map so far, but it looks as though one of the teams is readied up on the draft. What do you want to see changed from the composition for both of these teams?
Now, both of the teams really seem to understand how they want to approach the fights. Very safe, very passive play, going with the combos. But compLexity, they had more kills in that game. We saw, I think it was 15-3 by the end of the game. Very aggressive. I think that what we're going to end up seeing is something shut down, right? Whether it's Tyrael or Kerrigan, some of those heroes that can just make those plays, the shot call to just go in and end the life of an enemy hero.
Absolutely, and the Zeratul play combined with the Falstad, that really made a lot of the plays, and we saw that Falstad, he got picked off very early on in the game, but we talked about that gathering power, and he was able to keep those stacks up, a huge amount of burst potential, and it really turned a lot of the fights for compLexity. That's something that we could see shut down in this series so far with the bans. First off, we have compLexity banning out the Uther. They respect that. It's a very solid support. Zeveron, what's the response? What do they ban out? Is it going to be targeted at something that compLexity had in the previous game?
I really like seeing Uther banned out here because, as we mentioned, he is hands down the top support in the game right now. But Zeveron, do they dare give McIntyre Illidan? McIntyre is actually just probably the most formidable melee assassin in the game. He is known for having terrifying Illidan play and terrifying Kerrigan play. But if Illidan is left on the table, I would be shocked if he wasn't picked up.
It kind of seems like there's no right call here. Like you mentioned, he's very good on all these melee heroes like the playmakers. Even Zeratul, like all of the VPs that we saw, oftentimes were very good and they turned a lot of the fights. So they can't even take away all of these options given the first ban for compLexity. So we'll have to see, but you're right. Either Kerrigan or Illidan. We haven't seen Illidan picked up in a while, and it really turns the draft on its head.
Well, Kubi, one hero I can tell you that won't be banned here is Kael'thas, because he is actually globally banned from the tournament as he was just released today. So as pretty as his duck face is there on the screen, he will not be played in this tournament.
Has some fierce eyebrows, too. What's up with that? Really needs to get those things checked out. All right, Illidan is going to be the ban from Zeveron. They respect that. And it just kind of seems like a lot of the teams so far just respecting the potential that Illidan has to turn team fights, to give that chase, the damage output, and he's just overall almost like impossible to kill, it seems, if he's played and spaced properly. compLexity now has the opportunity to pick up those playmakers.
I'm very curious to see what they actually do with this. Now, the map is Cursed Hollow, probably the most standard map in terms of the tri-lane MOBA that we're used to seeing. So we often see very standard pickups with the normal teams, but a hero like Lost Vikings that we see picked up there, a little bit not as standard since he has so much power on being across the map.
Very good points. And we did, of course, just have a patch released today. Some changes to the Viking went through. We see 10 more seconds on the cooldown for jump. That is one of their main escape abilities. And, of course, as well, for their longboat raid. When it's killed off, it sort of acts right now as a second life bar, but there's a 1.5 second stun for all 3 of the Vikings as they pop out of the boat. So that means, before it used to be you could get really far into the enemy line with the positioning, block people off, and then when they tried to turn around and kill you, pop into the boat, a ton of AoE damage going out. They have to be a little more careful with the positioning, but still, the advantages that the Vikings have in terms of splitting the Vikings up across all the lanes to get that soak to allow the rest of your team to take the objectives.
Well, we see Zeveron is responding by picking up Sylvanas and Jaina. Now, this can be a way of mitigating the push potential that Vikings could have because Sylvanas does have the ability to lock down those towers. compLexity, they respond by getting more damage on their side, picking up that Vala, and this is the point where they're going to start to diversify with their play. They have 2 solid damage dealers with a lot of presence on the map. This is when they can say, all right, we want Tyrande for that middle of the road, but no. They prioritize Muradin very early.
Yeah, I think a lot of the teams are already coming to the conclusion that Muradin might be the strongest tank thus far, and actually Tyrael has been picked up in so many of the other games. I think ETC being the only other tank played in any of the other games. So Very interesting to see that the teams have already come to this conclusion so quickly.
At the same time, you can look at it in a few ways because ETC and Diablo saw so many changes. It's possible that the players just aren't comfortable playing on them.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
The patch has been alive for only a few hours now, and not having time to really test all those new talents that have been reworked might just be scaring them a little bit.
Yeah, so the other thing to take into consideration with the Uther ban specifically is that it kind of forces Zeveron maybe to take their support early. I thought maybe compLexity would try to lock out the Brightwing pick and then force Zeveron to take a healer that's not really quite as good without the use of the healing ward previously. So Brightwing would have been the scoop up to grab there. Not going to be the case. Zeveron does end up getting this pick. What's going to be the support for compLexity now?
I mean, Rhaegar would still make perfect sense even with the changes made to the healing ward, but Malfurion is definitely not someone that you can count out. He has the highest healing potential of any hero in the game, but it's not quite as bursty. The Tranquility just provides so much, and especially in a drawn-out fight over a tribute, that can really just make a fight look one-sided in a lot of situations.
Yeah, you're right. And, okay, we're going to see the Falstad once again. Is there going to be a setup pick for this? They could go for the Zeratul. That's very much a possibility. I think they probably liked how that felt in the last game. They want to keep running with it. There's a lot of ways to set up for this Kerrigan. This Falstad's Hinterwind's Blast.
If we do in fact see Malfurion, we will have a total of 5 beards on the left side of the screen. If you include the Vikings beards, that adds 2 more. That's 7 beards.
No, it doesn't count. Doesn't count. No, because it's only 1 on the screen. So we're looking at the draft going out to. I'm sorry, Jake. It's not how it works.
The beard dream is real. Will Malfurion be the final pick for compLexity? Now yes. So on this note, since we have a full team of beards, I need you guys to actually get on Twitter, use the hashtag WCA 2015, and draw us your best picture of Vala with a beard.
That's terrifying. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Okay, the bearded lady matched up with the rest of compLexity's lineup. You guys can see it there. What is going to be the final pick for Zeveron? They still haven't locked in their warrior. Once again, we have to mention the warrior meta is very volatile right now.
I really want to believe they're going to go with something crazy like a Nubarak, maybe even Arthas, but it just seems like ETC and Diablo make the most sense in this setup. If you can get that Shadow Charge flip with Diablo, there's a lot of opportunities for the Polymorph followed by just the sheer damage output provided by Jaina. There's a lot of potential, but like we mentioned, this is a new patch, and they might not be all that confident with the changes made to those two heroes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's what I'm thinking. Does Tyrael really fit in here? It's difficult for them to follow up with that. It depends a lot on the positioning and how confident that Jaina player is. Of course, she is a very squishy hero with a lack of mobility on her base kit, so she would have to probably use Sprint, but we are going to see the ETC for that general control. And also have to mention, there's a lot of mobility, at least across lanes, for this team.
Yeah, picking up that ETC, he has the global presence with Stage Dive. Brightwing also has the global presence when it comes to Brightwing. But, I mean, you also have Falstad on the flip side who can kind of mitigate that a fair amount.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, guys, this is the final game between compLexity and Zeveron. Get on social media. Use the hashtag WCA 2015. Tweet at us. We want to know who you guys think won that draft. Who's going to take this series to get on to the round of 4?
There's so much on the line in this event, Kubi. Yeah. $19,000 up for grabs for that first place position.
Yep.
That is the largest Heroes of the Storm tournament to date.
Absolutely. Okay, but why don't we go ahead and let the teams know that we're good to start this game. Jake, what do you think about the drafts? Who won? Who do you think won?
It's really tough to say, but you can never discredit the Lost Vikings potential on this map.
Sure.
If they can fully utilize them to just split up, soak 2 lanes while you send 4 members of your team into the bottom of the map or the top of the map, wherever those tributes are spawning, you can really start to get a big lead early on and then just push that level advantage towards level 10 and sometimes even just steamroll through the game.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, that split allows them to provide even kind of crazier rotations early on in the game. They might not have the most aggressive combination, but when you have 4 heroes rotating around, even just body blocks might provide enough of a distraction to get those early kills, which can go a long way to getting those tributes and the curse.
Well, we're looking at Cursed Hollow, like you mentioned, getting that curse. Vikings, they have that power. There's lots of global presence. Again, I just cannot wait to see this game unfold because this is the first Game 3 of this entire tournament that we have seen so far.
I know it's really great to see such a evenly matched series between these two heroes, but I think we are all set. We have the game loaded up, so let's get to introducing these teams. On the left side, the blue team, that's going to be compLexity, fresh off of a win. Trummel once again on the Falstad. Blinks is going to be playing Malfury in this game. Tiger JK on Vala. In the mid lane, we have Caterpillar, played by Muradin, and to round it out, McIntyre on the Lost Vikings.
And on the other side of the map, that is going to be Zeveron with Cthulhu playing as Tassadar. Matt Timmy is on Brightwing. Equinox will be playing Sylvanas. In the mid, it's Faye on Jaina. And rounding out the team will be Curse Fury on ETC.
Very nice. Okay, these teams, this is it. This is the big game for these guys. Loser is out. So this is a very, very crucial game for these guys. I see that Jaina's going for the increased range in the Frostbolt. Yep, by 30% there. Just allows for a little bit extra poke, keeping Jaina safe. She can check more bushes, those types of things in case they're expecting any type of gank play.
And yeah, I mean, the same kind of deal with Sylvanas, going for that with the wind, the increased range on the Withering Fire. But we actually see, once again, rolling like a stone, that new talent for the increased range on the power slide by 25%, picked up for ETC. Very cool, like the new pickup. And with Muradin, Reverberation, it saw the buff in this patch also being picked up.
Fury, please. This is a cry from the Kubi. I need to see the mosh pit because I want to see that upgrade. The Tor bus at level 20 is such a fun talent. And it feels like it is impossible to dodge this thing because of the increased range in the power slide. Casting mosh pit resets the cooldown for power slide itself, so you can set up some awesome opportunities for it. I would love to see it.
All right, so we talked about the Lost Vikings having a lot of potential to just be on the map and allow you to have a little bit more aggression, but they're counteracting with Sylvanas. They're pushing forward, locking down these towers, and trying to get an early experience lead with that. But Falstad is pushing in with that lightning bolt, just dishing out massive damage, forcing them back.
Okay, no split from the Vikings just yet. It's something that we might see perhaps when the tribute spawns, and that's going to be between the 2-minute and 15 and 45-second mark. So that might be the opportunity if they want to keep the Vikings together because they're afraid of a little bit more aggressive rotation. That might be the case too. Just kind of keep an eye on the Vikings' position because that will dictate a lot of what compLexity does in this early to mid game.
But look at them just forcing them back again. They want to take out those towers like we mentioned, and they've already removed this bottom one. That's just the sheer power of Sylvanas' push potential. Easily the best at pushing in the entire game.
Probably not going to see a lot of crazy action in the bottom lane. We do have ETC and Muradin squaring it off down there. But again, if we see that tributes popping up in the bottom lane between the mid and bottom, that could spell out some rotation from those heroes, but very likely that they will stay there. What's going to be the split from the Vikings? Look at this aggression so far on the structures in the top lane. Zeveron with a almost level lead, not quite, about 2/3 of a level jumping in to this first tribute.
And, you know, taking out the towers is nice because it gives you experience, but removing that well is a pretty big deal considering the tribute is right here. If there is a long, drawn-out fight, we do have the potential for Zeveron to tap that well on their side. We see Cthulhu doing that right now, and this will just give them a little bit more presence and health and just in general sustainability in those fights.
Okay, there is the split from the Vikings. This has allowed the opportunity for Caterpillar on Muradin to rotate up. It's actually not going to be enough. As you can see, a lot of the members that were in the top lane for compLexity have been pushed back to their fort and weren't able to get forward to the position to contest it.
But the Vikings did help the Soak quite a bit in that situation. So the experience is quite even, only about a quarter of a level lead on the side of Zeveron. And compLexity, I mean, they're far from out of this. Even though this early damage has been done, the name of the game is going to be level 10 once those heroics are picked up.
Okay, so if we were expecting to see Zeveron making this kind of play, but hold on the rotation from Trummel. He is able to throw down that lightning rod, and Equinox is going to be the target, is the haunting wave there. They're able to pick up Brightwing and maybe be able to get 2 kills. No, not quite.
Yeah, really, really aggressive fly forward like that. I mean, I love to see those kind of plays. Very confident. And the flank really did almost work out to pick up Equinox, but he did still have that haunting wave if he absolutely needed it.
Absolutely. All right, Brightwing is going to get right back in through the use of that phase shift. Not out for too long. Level 7 advantage, just a little bit for Zeveron, of course, jumping into this. And is that double promote, Jake?
Well, we
At level
do
4?
actually. Oh,
What?
whoa. Kubi, this changes everything. Okay, very quickly. In the patch, Promote has seen a change. 15-second duration was the old duration. It now lasts 30 seconds. So when you throw that Promote down on a minion, he is buffed up, he is healed up, and he marches down that lane. And if you have 2 of them, it just gives you so much potential on the map. Look at this guy just marching forward. He's taking up so much ammunition.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
This is a very heavy push style composition from their team, which you wouldn't expect looking at what they have drafted.
These are the kind of crazy strats that we want to see, what we expect to see here in an event as big as WCA America. Fury attempting to channel this tribute. They are doing a good job stalling him out.
Absolutely. With that Moonfire, they're probably going to have to make an aggressive play if they really want to try to get this. The Moonfire on such a short cooldown, so little mana spent. Fury now taking quite a bit of damage. Trummel with the rotation. Don't think they're going to be able to quite get this, but they have pushed them off the tribute. This will allow compLexity to take it if they do not want to overextend. Yes, Malfurion is able to grab it, and Trummel dashing over the wall. That's going to be a net win for compLexity.
Yeah, tribute count going 1-to-1 right now at this point in time, and the Vikings have done a good job soaking across the map. So the experience still very even, but the structural damage that has been done by Zeveron still has that slight lead for them going towards level 10.
Jake, I feel like you missed an opportunity. Me and you were arguing about the patch notes earlier today in our hotel room. We brought up Promote, and you said, oh, look at this. There could be a new push style. I just immediately dismissed, like, no way. Another 15 seconds, and oh, my goodness, Tassadar getting isolated. But yeah, you could have put up a flips bet for that.
I could have put up a flips bet, Kubi, but you know what? The flips, I'm already in debt. I don't need to risk that debt to be even further forward. But we can see, after picking up that kill on Tassadar, they're getting very aggressive. They're pushing down these towers, and the quest to 10 is pretty darn close for both teams.
Absolutely it is, but Zeveron has just grabbed it. Might have an opportunity to bring up that talent tab so that we can see what heroics have been grabbed. Water Elemental for Jaina, the Wailing Arrow on Sylvanas. Blink Heal once again for Matt Timmy playing Brightwing, Archon, and ETC. What's it going to be, please? The Mosh Pit. Come on.
He doesn't know. He's thinking about it. While we wait for that, we do see Avatar and Muradin. Hinterland's Blast picked up for Falstad. Tranquility for Malfurion. Longboat Raid picked up by the Vikings. And we have a bit of a scuffle happening as the next tribute is spawning, and Fury is sitting on top of it.
Yeah, he's just playing with my heart. I really need to know if he's going for that mosh pit. But we have this scuffle between the two teams, like you mentioned. Vikings rotating down from the top lane. Brightwing, of course, has that mobility with the phase shift. She can port in at any time, and that will very likely be the turn of the key for the aggression on Zeveron. If you see that phase shift, look to see the members of Zeveron diving in, particularly Curse Fury.
Yeah, with the damage going out onto Equinox, that is going to signal that rotation in, but the shields from Cathalmach were enough to mitigate that Hinterland Blast. A nice attempt, but the kill was not there, and with Brightwing, with that blink heal, she is healing the team of Osu very quickly, and they haven't expended really any heroics at all yet.
Yeah, 2 healers on both sides that have a very sustained style heal, but it looks like the slow push from compLexity, trying to get control of the tribute. No, it's going back the way of Zeveron, and the rotation, the flank from McIntyre. This could be the play that starts off the fight, the dash in. This might be the longboat raid that they need for this fight.
He is in there using that jump, but we do see that Bala falls very quickly. The silence is hitting absolutely everyone. Blink's trying to stay alive with the Tranquility, but it's not going to be enough. Zeveron has waited it out. The longboat raid is destroyed. That will stun the Vikings, and they will all fall. That is a 4 for nothing, Kubi.
That just goes to show the balance change. It is going to be a very impactful thing for the Vikings in the future. There it is, the mosh pit. Yes, yes, yes.
It didn't even have to be used in that fight. I mean, it's just really, really clean, decisive play coming out of Zeveron in that fight. We can just see the other heroics. We do have the Strafe, the Wailing Arrow, and just pretty standard stuff. That's going to net them a boss. It's currently 3.75 kills to 2, and 1 more tribute will give Zeveron that curse.
Absolutely. So back to that point about the Vikings, I got to say, if it was the previous patch, they probably would have been able to use run and jump to get back to the safety of the fort in the bottom lane. So it just goes to show you the tweaks and how much of an effect they can have. Even if it's just 2 small lines in the patch note, you can see how these teams are adapting immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the Promote is the best thing to point out in terms of adaptation, because with this new patch, this is a talent that we just never see, and we just have to constantly talk about it in this game because of the profound impact it's going to have. Brightwing and Tassadar, they both gave up protective shield for that. That is a lot of sustainability that they're sacrificing to have push potential, but it's been working out. They're working on yet another boss.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. They have the control from that bottom boss, and they're going to take the top one. They already have the fort down in both of these lanes, right? This boss is going to be able to push to the keep walls before the 10-minute mark of this Game 3 between compLexity and Zeveron.
Absolutely insane play right now, and the boss is actually being pretty much marched down the lane with these promotes. Very nicely done, and that tribute, we mentioned it, if they are successful in grabbing it, that will net them a curse on the enemy team.
Okay, what is going to be the response from compLexity? How are they going to deal with this
oh my gosh.
mosh pit? Oh my god.
They can't even stop it. They zoned them out perfectly. And this is just going to force compLexity into a very defensive posture. They want to keep their structures alive, but this boss is going to get ridiculous amounts of efficiency since the enemy team is cursed.
Right. And they have to respond to that, and that is going to allow Zeveron a lot of opportunity to take out this fort. And you can see they're already moving forward, throwing down the blizzard onto these structures. They're going to get this keep wall at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, that wall is going down. The middle wall is going down. Everything is in control by Zeveron right now. 14-13, a full level lead. The boss has almost been eliminated, and that will allow them to defend this middle lane.
And they can just keep backing up Zeveron, just taking small amounts of objectives here and there while this curse is active. They still have another 25 seconds. No talent advantage right now for Zeveron. This might mean that they should back up. They don't have a huge advantage other than the curse, which isn't going to help them that much in team fights.
Caterpillar dives forward with that Dwarf Toss, but misses the Storm Pull on the Mad Timmy. That does not help, and the Wailing Arrow does connect with 2. That signals a lot of aggression, and that Mosh Pit being used, locking down our Muradin player. But it's not enough. He backs up, he gets out, and they manage to trade the kill onto ETC. Longboat Rate is forcing them back. They are fighting with their lives. This is their tournament at stake, and the Hinterlands Blast will connect with Faye, but it's not quite enough.
Not quite, you're right, absolutely. I see the plan for Zeveron. They really want to make use of that Wailing Arrow to hold on Caterpillar, looking to get the S and the fly. The offensive fly from Trummel is going to be enough to pick up this kill. Dimensional shift off cooldown, of course, so he wasn't able to activate it to save his life. All right, back to that team fight. We saw the Wailing Arrow go out, and that was immediately the trigger. As soon as the Wailing Arrow was firing, he knew, you could see that it was going to line up. Curse Fury. He used the initiator for the fight. So he saw the silence was going to hit on multiple targets, dash forward with that new power slide with the extra range on it to set up the mosh pit. Unfortunately, it almost kind of seemed like the response from compLexity was way ahead of them. And as soon as they saw the Wailing Arrow go out, they just backed up immediately. And that's really good. Just positioning.
Yeah,
really, absolutely.
Very, very quick reaction time, and that put them back in this game, but the level advantage is still there for Zeveron. They're about to hit level 16. We can check out those talents very quickly, and we can see that the first Blood for Blood, we do have the Northern Exposure, the Critterize to increase the damage received on that Polymorph, and the second strike for Tassadar. They're leaning into more and more damage for that quick burst potential.
Absolutely, and with the static charge at level 7, this is, you're right, a huge amount of damage with the Shrink Ray, which allows the Archon to give a lot of chase. Second strike, that's a huge amount of crit damage output that we can see out of Tassadar, something we haven't really seen in a long time.
No, we certainly have not seen much of that in the past. Right now, both teams are split up quite a bit across the map, just defending these mercenaries. You can see the map is very red currently, just because the control that Zeveron has had. And right now, compLexity just wants those level 16 talents. Picking up these bruisers will be enough, and there we see level 16 being picked up with the overdrive on Falstad.
That's going to be a big deal. The hardened focus for Malfurion just to get that extra HP. The Norse Force, that's a huge shield that you will see on the Vikings of Stone Skin. A lot of this is Stone Form. All of this is about defensive play, with the exception of the overdrive, to make sure that they can lock down those targets.
Stone Skin is really interesting on Vala. That's just showing how afraid they are of that burst potential on the enemy side, and I really like that pickup. Cool to see. Finally, a bit of aggression coming out from compLexity, taking down that wall, but there is a tribute in the top of the map.
Yup, and the structure advantage is very much so in the favor of Zeveron. They have a slight level lead. Do you think that the promote is really the reason that they are so far ahead in the structures? I mean, it's certainly going to be helping a lot.
It's helping quite a bit. The split push from Brightwing is helping more, and then just the sheer fact that Sylvanas locks everything down. It is terrifying how much potential they have, but the tribute was picked up by compLexity, and if they are able to get a curse, that's going to help them out a lot and really help mitigate the structural disadvantage they're currently in.
We saw Trummel fly down to the bottom lane to deal with the Brightwing split push that you had mentioned. Of course, she is able to use the face shift. No stuns on Trummel's kit to knock her out of that, so she was able to get out to safety and just continue to move around the map and be a pester.
Well, we do have Zeveron just constantly forcing the situation, pushing in, showing that they are, in fact, a threat at any moment in time, but they do, in fact, back up to their own boss. If compLexity is confident, they can go for their own, but it feels like they're just worried about the potential of a party bush, and they're just kind of hanging out in the middle of the map. Now, finally, slowly taking care of these promoted minions and rotating up towards the boss, but I think it's going to be too late.
Unfortunately, they're walking through the vision that they have, so this means that Zeveron is going to have some idea, but they realize that they've taken more of the boss, and as they trickle in, it wouldn't be there in time to contest it. This is going to be a huge boss, but more importantly, this allows Zeveron the opportunity. They can push down this lane, they can try to go down and contest this boss. They have the level lead right now, and it feels like they are in control of this late game.
Yes, look at this. We see that the curse was, in fact, picked up by compLexity, but compLexity did not succeed in picking up a boss of their own. This is going to force them back. They need to protect these back keeps, make sure they stay as healthy as possible, but the split push is being set up, and actually, no, Zeveron is going down for that boss of their own.
Yeah, they have the distraction in that top lane. The boss is very healthy at over half of its HP. This should net enough time for Zeveron to take the offensive boss on compLexity's side of the map.
And that's exactly what we see happening here. It will be picked up rather quickly. Tassadar just using the Oracle to make sure that they are, in fact, perfectly safe. 2 bosses in a row. This curse has been completely wasted. They did pick up a fort in the bottom, but in the grand scheme of things, this was a huge win for Zeveron.
Yep, in just another 10 seconds, we're going to be going back to that promoted lifestyle that Zeveron has been putting forward. A crazy addition in this patch that we really were not expecting to see at all. But Zeveron, they are the new kids on the block. We haven't seen a lot of their play in the competitive scene, and they are really firing back.
Yeah, this boss will just get a few whacks onto that keep, but every hit counts for so much because there's no way to get that health back as the boss does dissipate. We see the continued aggression here, but are they too far forward? The Stormbolt will connect with Tassadar, but the follow-up is not available. A very aggressive fault out of Tiger JK, laying down that multi-shot, but it looks like it is a full-on disengage for Zeveron.
Yeah, it's been a very hit-and-run style for Zeveron thus far. They realize that they have the pushing advantage, especially with that promote, with the split push of right wing, and they've just been maneuvering around the map, out-rotating compLexity, and it shows in the structural advantage.
Trummel is getting oh so very low. The Q comes out for Sylvanas, and it is just enough. Caterpillar in the front line has those big heals on him, but is it enough? It's a 4v5 at this point in time, and the sustain of Brightwing is proving to be true. The dash forward separating McIntyre's Olaf. The Blizzard is connecting, and yes, they do manage to pick up that kill.
Couple of kills. We saw that Falstad was actually isolated quite a bit, forced to retreat in the upper lane. They were able to rotate up and quickly kill him. That pulls a lot of the damage out of the fight. But more importantly, he loses his gathering power stacks as well.
Oh,
so
man.
Their ability to make the comeback from here is going to be very difficult. We're going to need to see some super clutch plays from compLexity. Level 20 has just been hit. Jake, does that mean Torbus?
Yeah, we can look at it. There is the tour bus. That's what Kubi has been wanting to see. That will allow ETC to use that power slide into the fight, cast Mosh Pit, and then power slide once he is in the Mosh Pit, providing for ridiculously aggressive scenarios. But stuns can be used to stop this, and we might see, well, there's not actually a whole lot of stuns available.
Just Murden for the most part, which is quite scary. Of course, we didn't see that Rain of Vengeance picked up either, so this is going to be a potential great opportunity to set up that tour bus. And let me tell you guys, it is difficult to dodge, especially considering the amount of pressure that is forcing compLexity back. How are they going to be able to hold off this push?
They're trying to set a stranglehold onto compLexity. They have a huge advantage just controlling the map. Now, the tribute count is currently 0 to 0. The tribute spawning in the backline shouldn't be a big priority. Eliminating this keep is what they want to do, but they're going to be patient. They don't want to throw. They're picking up these giants, and they're just moving in very cautiously.
Yeah, you can say on one hand that you don't want to throw, but this is the time where you have an advantage. The 20 talents are so impactful, and I think that they really should try to at least get this keep, and it looks like they're going to be able to, especially with the Sylvanas pushing.
Yes, she's just using that, well, Banshee to just get back into her safety. Look at the health. It is actually, there's not even any green left in the health bar of that keep. Still standing somehow, but the Vikings get blown up oh so very quickly. We do have Vala going down as well. ETC dashes forward. He doesn't even need the tour bus. That is 3 members down, and I believe they have done it, Kubi.
Yes, and they still, of course, have that mosh pit, that control available. I don't even think that they're going to be able to stop this. The HP of the core is dropping. We're already down to 80%. There's still another 40 seconds before 2 of the members of compLexity are up. The Vikings are still not there, and I think that's going to be it. Zeveron is going to take the series, the underdog, 2-1.
Incredibly impressive. I mean, this is like the Cinderella story, Kubi.
Yep.
Zeveron, formerly Murloc's geniuses, they were picked up as soon as they were announced as participants in this event. Zeveron said, hey, you know what? We're going to throw our banner on you guys. You have shown a lot of potential. We want to support you. And here they are, coming out, defeating a team as big as compLexity. Yep. This is phenomenal.
You're right. And you know what? The tour bus, it wasn't used. But I still got to give props to Fury for picking it up. I'm really excited to see how that's going to be played out in the future. Speaking of the future, Zeveron moving on to play against Tempo Storm in the round of 4. We're going to be seeing those matches tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, we can actually see the bracket here. That is going to be the semifinal for Group B, our second group in the series, Tempo versus Zeveron. The team that wins that match will end up going to the finals here in Burbank, California on June 1st.
Absolutely. And on the other side, of course, if you guys happen to miss Monday's games, that is going to be 2ARC versus Cloud9 Maelstrom for that other side. It's going to be a crazy set of series. 4
amazing teams playing in those semifinals. $19,000 up for grabs, but actually qualifying for the semifinals means you're guaranteed $2,000.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and we can see the bracket here. That is going to be the final 4 in this qualifying event. Cloud9 Maelstrom versus 2ARC, like we mentioned, and as you guys just saw, Tempo Storm and Zeveron advancing.
And you'll notice there is a final spot there for the winning team. If you do happen to win the entire event on June 1st, you will advance to the Chinese finals at the end of this entire circuit. There's actually an array of events happening in North America and Europe. WCA is making it big for Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, and I'm actually told that it's a $100,000 prize pool at that event just for Heroes of the Storm. That's insane.
That's actually ridiculous. We're still in beta, guys, and there's going to be a $100K tournament.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
That's ridiculous. All right, Jake, do we got anything else?
I mean, guys, just make sure to let us know what you thought about the games today and who you think is going to take the games tomorrow. Use the hashtag WCA2015 and be sure to follow WCA America on Twitter. That's going to do it for us here at WCA. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific.